Hey everyone, how's it going? This is another episode of my Devlog series. This week we're talking all about polishing up some of the combat. There's more explosions, some hit impact effects, messing around with some of the physics, and also improving the scanner. And in case you're new to the channel, this is an indie devlog series of my 2D action-adventure pixel art game, Resonant Blade. Thanks for tuning in everybody, and if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I've been adding in some more juice to the combat. To make it more juicy. For instance, hitting enemies now is a lot more satisfying with these sprite slice impact effects that I added in. I only had to add in a few of these, and then for some variation, I randomized whether or not they would flip around the X or Y axis. The robot enemies in the game also show some emotion. Now when they get hit, they don't really like that. Before, when defeating an enemy, they just blew up into bits instantly after you hit them. There were some particle explosions that looked lame as well. But now, what happens is that they'll flash white for half a second before exploding. And just that little delay adds a lot more impact to the death of the enemy. The explosions have also been revamped from particles into sprites and animations. The blood effects are also a little less wild too. The old particle system for the blood had the blood spraying everywhere after you killed an enemy, and the scaling of the blood just didn't match the pixel art aesthetic. So I went back and simplified it from particles with physics into smaller sprites of blood pools that show up underneath the victim when they're damaged. Another thing that I changed was the player attacks. And what I did with these was add some momentum to them. So basically I had to make sure that whenever you hit an enemy that they get knocked back enough now, so that you have enough room to keep wailing on them so you don't run into them. And I went ahead and added in that same attack momentum to the sword fighter enemy. Along with that, I added in a cool trail effect for the sword fighters when they're attacking. And I can see this being an easy way to make a dash attack for stronger versions of these enemies later in the game. Moving on to the scanner, I added in some sprite outlines to Atlas and the enemies that indicate their resonant frequencies. The old version that showed these resonant frequencies was a lot more subtle with the way it displayed the color. The new outlines should increase the readability on the screen and make it easier for the player to figure out what to do in a combat situation, especially when there's a lot of enemies on the screen at the same time. Instead of writing a custom shader for this outline effect, I basically did it in a hacky way, where I duplicate the sprite 4 times and move each duplicate sprite up, down, left, and right 1 pixel. After that, just throw in a little bit of oscillation in the scale factor of these outlines to add some movement and life to it. I also had to be sure that the sprite outlines mimic the animation of the parent object that they're outlining. So I'm thinking about making these outlines optional with the use of an equipable mod. The way it would work is that if you have this mod equipped, you can see the outlines of the colors, otherwise you'll only be able to hear the frequencies. And this kind of opens the door to like an optional hard mode, but still leaves room for accessibility. What do you guys think about this idea? Is this a dumb idea or not? I don't know. Okay, that's all I had for this week's devlog. Don't forget to subscribe if you like this video and you want to see more, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Later.